Dear sighted people,
here are 15 things that we really want you to know. That's our intro music. Hi, and welcome to Rare with Flair,
the podcast where two 20-somethings with the same rare disease are out here living our best lives. I am your host, Casey.
And I'm your host, Cassandra.
So hello, everyone. We hope you're all doing super well. On the day this podcast is released, it is Election Day in the United States of America, which is where we live. And we are actually recording this an entire week before that, so we do not know anything about the outcome or anything like that. But we just wanted to acknowledge it. We didn't want to let this episode pass by without acknowledging that it is a big, important day in our country.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you haven't voted already and you're listening to this on the day that it was released, please go and vote. It's super, super important. But yeah, I voted absentee, so I requested my ballot by mail and then I filled it out and I took it back to the Board of Elections. I actually went on a website called vote411.org, and you put in your information, like your city and it's easier if you just put in your address, and then they tell you all the people that are on your ballot, which was super helpful, so you could compare which candidate you wanted to vote for.
I always need to educate myself more on the local people. Obviously we know like the presidential election, but it's also important to vote locally too.
Yeah, local politics are super important, and sometimes they're only won by handfuls of votes, and they're the people who decide also extremely important things, so you should definitely read up on your local people.
Yes. Well, we also talk about fall all of the time, but now Halloween is coming up, everybody. We're excited.
See, now you can't be like, they're talking about fall for like the 4th episode. Well, actually, we're talking about Halloween, which is a holiday, so it's different.
Also, it's already happened for you listeners, so we hope you had a very safe and fun Halloween, but it hasn't happened for us. So, Cass, what are your plans?
Yeah, so I think with this pandemic, one thing that my mom and I for sure have done is we have celebrated the heck out of every holiday we possibly could. We even did Christmas in July, which we've never ever done.
Yes.
But we've been so bored that we wanted to keep it interesting. So for Halloween, we're already planning a little party. We're going to have instead of pigs in a blanket, we're going to have mummies in a blanket.
Oh, that's cute.
But I'm going to dress up this year, even though we're not going anywhere, and it's just going to be me and my parents. So this year, I'm going to dress like the girl on the canister of Morton salt, and we'll put pictures of our dress up in the show notes for sure. But my thought with it was like, well, 2020's got me salty, so gotta dress up like the salt girl.
Love that. I love that. I am dressing up as Toph from the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender, and if you don't know, she is blind, which is one of the reasons why I also just love that show. And I'm just doing a very small gathering with 3 friends, and we're staying outside. We're gonna do like a bonfire and eat, and keeping it safe, but having a little fun. So we're very excited for that. And yes, we'll put pictures in the show notes and possibly on our Instagram too, so look out for that. Also, one more quick announcement. We are over halfway in our ratings on Apple Podcasts. We are over halfway to 100 ratings. And what does that mean, Cass, when we get to 100 ratings?
Well, we promised in our very, very first episode, if you could want to go back and give it a listen, that Casey has this voice which she talks to her beautiful Bichon Frise Rupert in, and I think it's incredible, but she said that if we get 100 reviews, she will speak in her dog voice.
And all jokes aside though, ratings really mean a lot to us because podcasts are really hard to get, it's all word of mouth. It's really hard to get the word out there, and ratings really help us out. If you are listening and you like this pod, please take a moment. It's really quick and easy. Just give us a rating. We would really appreciate that.
Yeah, and also, throw us a review. That's super cool. In addition to being halfway through to Casey's dog voice, we also wanted to note that we have already had over 200 people follow us on Instagram at rare.with.flair. It is so, so awesome. We love our Insta followers. We've gotten a lot of, DMs. I think that's where we get the most messages from, is through our Insta DMs.
We're having fun over there. Yes, follow us on Insta.
Okay, so this week you heard it in the title, you heard it in the intro, we're talking to you sighted people. And really, we know that we could make a list of 15 things that are negative that sighted people do, and we could talk about that for many hours, but we really wanted to spin it in a positive way and talk about things that we really love that sighted people do.
We want to give you some credit where credit is due. So yes, we have a list, and let's just get into it, I guess. The first thing that we love that sighted people do is we love it when we are watching a movie with you, and, well, we love two things. A, when you read us subtitles, and we love B, if we're going to a movie with you, if you take into consideration where to sit and you don't just go sit in the very, very back. You ask your blind or visually impaired friend, hey, what's the best seat for you to sit at? That's really, really nice.
Yeah, and that doesn't always mean just sitting in the very front and having to crane your neck back to see anything.
No.
A lot of, we mentioned in our last episode, a lot of blind people will also probably use audio description, but sometimes it's not available. Think when you're at a friend's house and you all are watching a movie and maybe there's no audio description track available. When text comes up on the screen, when someone is texting or something and you can't see that, it's so, so nice when people just, without even having to ask, they'll just read to you what's going on.
It's so nice. It makes us feel so seen. It's literally the moment of birds singing, my heart melting into a puddle when people do this for me. It's so nice when you don't even have to ask. They just automatically start reading out loud what's on the screen because they know you're there, and it makes you feel seen. It's so nice.
Okay, so number 2 is we just really, really love it when we are at a restaurant. Again, a lot of these things would be easier described in a pre-COVID world, but we love it when people read menus on the wall when you're going to a cafe or a fast casual sort of restaurant. It is so nice when we don't really have to even think about it, and people will just be like, okay, hey, this is what they have. And again, most of these things we're also not asking to just be waited on hand and foot. I think, at least for me, I'll probably try and look at it using my phone or a monocular or whatever tool I have at the moment. But it's just really thoughtful when people do that on their own.
Yeah, and on the opposite side of the spectrum, though, it's also super heartbreaking when people act really annoyed or put out when you ask them to read the menu on the wall, or they say something just yeah, this place has sandwiches, or this place has salads, and they don't take the time to actually read you what's on the wall, because it makes me feel like I'm a burden, and it just makes me feel bad, and also it makes me feel sad that I don't get to have the same experience and pick my meal like everybody else does.
Right, and it just, it makes me feel like garbage, because at that point I usually have to ask many, many follow-up questions well, what kind of sandwiches do they have? And, okay, and then they're well, they have hot and cold. And it's wow, thank you.
Yeah, and we've both had this experience. It's a very common experience that people get annoyed with us when we ask this, but we just want to know what's to eat.
I know, we just want to have a good meal with you.
And another thing that goes along with this too is buffet lines. So a lot of times at a buffet line, there will be little signs of what the food is, or even if it's just food without signs, a lot of times it's hard for us to see what the food is, that it might be easier for a sighted person to see. And I was at a wedding once, and this girl was there that I barely knew. We weren't close friends. She was just kind of in my friend circle, and she was going behind me in the buffet, and she was just telling me everything they had without me even having to ask. And it was things like that stay with me. Like, that memory stays with me of her going behind me saying, this is mashed potatoes, this is whatever, because I didn't even ask her to do that, and she didn't even know me very well, and it stays with me.
That's so sweet. Also, if there is background, like a humming noise, I am in a basement and it's a furnace turning on, so sorry for the distraction. But yeah, I think along with that is like giving descriptive directions. I think that is so helpful. It's just so frustrating when people say, oh, something is over there. Like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't lose much time saying, oh, it's right behind you, oh, it's to your left. Something more descriptive. And Casey and I have been thinking, like, I feel like a lot of these frustrating things end up happening for like people that work in customer service roles, which we really appreciate the work they do, but a lot of the times that's who's gonna be like, oh, like sign here, or, you know, pay at the thing, and it's not actually super helpful, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, like, two really stressful situations for me are first of all, like, when there are a lot of different cash registers open, and a cash register opens up and they just gesture for you to come up, and
the gesturing.
The gesturing, or at TSA when you're walking through the metal detector, every single time they just gesture when it's time, and I get anxious every time because when you don't go when they gesture, they think you're either being rude or you're not paying attention or something like that, and it's super stressful.
Yeah, and they get really upset at you when it's not your fault that you can't see that they're moving their hand. And what we were also saying is, really, people in these roles should be doing both. They should be gesturing and saying, hey, you can come through now, or I can take you over here, because for both blind and for deaf people, we need both of those things.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing we love is when people describe things to us. So, like, if we're in a big crowd and you're, like, at a wedding and you're, like, someone says to us, oh, someone is, breakdancing on the dance floor, or you're just, like, describing us the things that are going on. Recently, I was at a Super Bowl party, and during the halftime show, everyone was watching, and I was standing in the back of the room with this tiny TV on the other side of the room, and I had this friend, once again, who I didn't even know that well, and she just started describing things to me that was going on in the halftime show, and that was so, so nice of her.
Yeah, it makes me also think of my brother, who he will kind of naturally describe some things around him. One time, I remember when I was still in high school, we went to an amusement park, and after a bit we sat around, sitting and watching people, and he would, like, describe what the people were doing. He's like, oh, it looks like that couple is arguing. And then he started pretending to fill in, like, what they were saying. But
yes.
But it was really, really nice because I felt like I was involved at the moment. Okay, number 4 is, if we don't know you well, like, you're not our family, you're not, like, super, super close friends, saying your name when you talk to us and saying, hey, Cassandra, it's so-and-so. Like, wow, yes. Thank you so much, because I don't have to pretend like I know you now.
Yeah, not only saying what your name is, but also saying our name too. Like, yeah, like you said, like, hey, Cassandra, it's so-and-so. Like, because we don't know if you're talking to us too. Like if you're trying to say hi to us, we don't know what direction you're looking in. And I remember, like, teachers in school would call on me when I was raising my hand, but they wouldn't say Casey, and they would just expect me to know that they were calling on me, It is so nice when I'm, like, in Target and we run into, like, a friend of my mom's who I know, but I would never know what they really look like because I don't see them enough. And they'll say, like, hey, Casey, it's Miss Susan. And I'm like, that is the most helpful thing in the world, to just let me know who you are. Yes.
Yeah. I think on the opposite side of that, don't play guessing games. That's not cute. It's not fun when you're like, you remember me, don't you? No, I don't. Sighted people don't like that.
No, nobody likes that. Who does that? Except people do that, and it's the worst.
I know. And I mean, in general, it's just putting people on the spot. It's not nice. So,
no.
Just don't.
It is not nice. The next one, which I think is number 5, I don't have a numbered list. You numbered your list.
Yes.
I did not do that. So I am like off. I think the next one's number 5. Yep. Okay. Next one, number 5 is steps. When you, okay, there's a time and a place for this. It doesn't necessarily have to be all the time, especially if your blind friend has a cane or a guide dog. They might not need this every time. But if you are in an unfamiliar area with bright lights or it's really dark or something like that, it's so nice to let your blind friend know when a step is coming, especially if it's a step that's even hard for a sighted person to see, because there have been a lot of times where my friend has warned me that there's a step, and if they wouldn't have, I would have face planted. So it's really nice to just let your friend know, hey, there's a step right there.
Yeah, and I think that obviously there's a line. Don't go crazy with it. Not every single step you have to be like, step, Casey, step. Like,
yeah, exactly. If you know the person well enough, you might kind of start to learn like what steps they might need to be warned about, if that makes any sense. You don't have to overthink it, but yeah.
I think that what you said earlier was really good. If you would have had a hard time seeing it, chances are I probably won't see it at all. Okay, number 6 is offering to drive you somewhere. If you guys are going somewhere together, it is another like birds singing moment.
Yeah,
like
it really is.
It's just like, I have this friend at work that we would go to like work events together, but it was really sweet because he would be like, oh, are you going to the thing later? And then he was like, do you need a ride? And I was like, yes, I do. It was so nice.
It's so nice when they offer without you having to ask, because when we have to ask, it makes us kind of feel like a burden. Like we don't want to say, hey, can you take me? It's so nice when people just do it without us asking. And, Cassandra and I have talked in the past about how some people in our lives just, we're not trying to say this in a woe is me kind of way, but some people in our lives just don't really think about how hard it is to not be able to drive. Like, I don't know. I think some people just think, oh yeah, Casey can't drive, that's how it is, but they don't really put themselves in that position. And so when they do, and when they do think of you and offer the ride, it's so nice. And we're always really appreciative. We always offer to like pay them gas money and all of that stuff, because we know like we don't want them to go out of their way to drive us, but it's so nice when they do.
It is really, really sweet. And like most things, it really makes us feel like a burden when people act put out by it. When we end up having to ask, we're like, hey, could you pick me up, or could you drop me back off or something? And we're like, yeah, I guess I could take you. Like, I mean, I didn't really want to ask to begin with, but now you really made me feel bad.
Yeah, when they act like it's a burden, there's nothing in the world that makes me feel smaller. So it's so nice to act like it's an easy thing to do. Like, oh yeah, I'll drive you, no big. It's like, that's the nicest thing ever, because it means the world to us. So like, you don't understand how such a little thing can mean so much to us.
Especially the U.S. is built for people who drive cars. And there's really small pockets of like super, super urban areas like New York City where you'd be better off without a car. But for the majority of things in the U.S., you pretty much have to be able to drive, especially where Casey and I live in the South and in the Midwest. Like, it's so car heavy. We're not going to sit around and cry about it. I mean, there are just some times where we're like, ugh, I wish I could just get in my car and go somewhere. But, it's hard for people to understand who have never had to live it, but when you offer, you show that you're at least, like, trying to understand that, like, hey, man, I know that it's hard to not be able to get around super easily.
All right. The next one is helping us navigate without us really having to ask. Once again, I mean, all of these things are nice if we don't have to ask. I mean, that's just like, it just shows that you're thinking of us. So a good example of this that I had is like, if you're at a big sporting event and you say, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom, it's really nice if a friend just says, hey, I'll go with you. And, obviously we can find these things ourselves, but it's just so nice when I'm with a sighted person and they just kind of take the reins without me having to like put in a lot of effort to navigate, because I can, but it's just easier when they just don't mind and they just say, all right, let's go, Casey, I'll show you the way. You know, I like that personally.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it depends the person. I think I'm kind of hyper independent, and so if you offer and I say no, like, don't take it personally. I just probably want to, like, prove to myself that, like, yeah, I can go to this place.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an ego thing. I don't know. But it is, I still do appreciate it, especially if, like Casey said, it's really crowded, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find you easily on my way back. Like, that's really, really nice.
Yeah, and, like, they don't even have to say, like, oh, I'll show you where the bathroom is. They can just say, oh, I'll go with you. I have to go, too. But you know that they're saying that because they want to take you. So it's just, I love when they do that. I love when you sighted people. I see what you're doing, and I love when you do it. So
Sneaky help.
Yeah. Yeah, sneaky help. I like a sneaky help. It makes me feel, it doesn't mess with my independence. It's like, I needed to go to the bathroom too, you know?
And then they don't go and you're like, wait, oh, okay. My number 8 is, I think that I spend a lot of time explaining and educating to people about my guide dog or cane or whatever it is. And I think it's really sweet when a friend that I'm with will, like, just start trying to educate people for me, because, you know, I do it all the time. But it's really nice when someone decides to step in. Like, I have this friend, and she was visiting me, and we were walking around, and she's like, oh, everybody's staring at you. And so then she's like, she's from Boston. She's really feisty, but she'd be like, hey, this is a guide dog. Have you ever seen a guide dog before? Like, and if people ask questions, she'd be like, no, you can't pet the dog. The dog is working. And it was really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, we're in constant education mode, and sometimes we're just not in the mood. And obviously, like, when someone is asking us a question, we don't want them to, like, ask our friend for us.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not talking about that. Like, that's very annoying. But it is nice when, you know, you're with someone, and, like, I've had people be kind of passive-aggressive to me when I'm not seeing something right, and it's so nice to have a friend stick up for you and be like, she can't see. Like, why are you treating her like that, you know? It's so nice to have those kind of friends by your side, and I really appreciate it when I don't have to always be the one saying I can't see. Like, my friend will step in and just be like, hey, she's blind, you know?
Yeah. And, I mean, this probably goes with being descriptive, but my mom will do that all the time. Like, she'll notice I missed something, and she'll kind of be like, hey, I think she wants a hug, or like, hey, I think she's like waving at you. I think that
I love that.
That is so, like, I always really, really appreciate it when that happens, because, like, we're obviously not trying to blow you off, but we just, like, have no idea that that's happening.
Yes, no, I love that. Like, hey, Casey, that girl is waving at you, or, yeah, I love that so much. Okay, the next one is people asking us questions instead of just assuming things about our lives. I love it when I'm starting to make a new friend and they ask questions and they are genuinely interested in your life instead of just kind of assuming and not addressing the elephant in the room. I think a lot of us disabled people don't want you to be awkward and tiptoe around it. We would rather you just ask, and that makes us feel like you care and you want to, like, help us, you know?
Yeah, like, you want to know and you want to get to know us, and this is part of us, you know, and the fact that you want to understand really, really just cements the fact that, like, you are, like, an interested friend, or I don't know, maybe you just want the tea, who knows, but, like, I think that
if you want the tea, listen to the podcast.
that is so true. I think that in every closer friendship that I have, or just if I've talked to a person a few times more than once, you know, sometimes people will just be like, okay, so what can you see? And while I get kind of tired of answering this question just because I've answered it a lot, I think that it's still super, super nice that people still want to know and want to know how best to possibly help me if I need it. Okay, number 10. And this may be the best one, but It is when...
It might be. It might be.
It really might be. When we're gonna meet you somewhere, say a restaurant, and you come to find us, wow.
Ugh.
Angels singing.
Angels singing, my heart melting into a puddle of goo on the floor.
Because you don't understand how stressful and anxiety producing it is to try and walk around a crowded place trying to find someone, especially if you don't know them super well, and you're looking for like a group. It's so tough to know where they are. They're like, oh, we're in the back, and then you're trying to text someone like, are you here? And you don't know, and then people are like, do you need help? And you're like, I don't know what I need help with.
It's the worst. No, like literally, I will meet big groups of people at restaurants, obviously pre-COVID, right? We keep having to preface that. But I'll be like, I don't know if I'm the first one there or if somebody is already there from my group, because I can't go in and just look, right? We don't have that, like, ability. So I'm like texting them, like, are you here yet? And nobody is responding. And I go up to the hostess, and the hostess is like, is your group here yet? And I'm like, I have no idea. And then I'm walking around the restaurant looking like an idiot. And rarely do people actually help me with this. So I think this is, if we get anything across to sighted people today, it's this. Like, either meet us at the front door, like stand up and yell my name, Casey, we're over here, or like text me or something. Don't just expect me to find the table. That is not possible, my friend.
No.
It is not possible.
No, it is, and it's so frustrating.
I just got really heated about that. But.
No. I know, it's so sad to me though when it happens, and I just feel so embarrassed. I kind of just want to like just walk out or sit at a table by myself and end up just doing my own thing, because I'm like, this is more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, 1000%. The next one is people accommodating you. So, you know, a lot of times that'll be maybe just like printing off something in large print for you without you having to ask. Or one time I was at church at my church in New York City, and I had one of those pamphlets, like the programs they give out, and I was struggling to see it. And this woman saw me struggling, came up, and she said, hey, I'm just letting you know, every Sunday in the back we have enlarged versions of this. And it was the nicest thing ever. And it just, once again, makes you feel seen, makes you feel like they care. And it was so, so nice.
Yeah, oh, that's really sweet. And again, we're not asking people to move heaven and earth for us or treat us like we're so, so special, but just that extra moment of consideration is really what we're after. And it's like, when I would go to work events, I was part of this entry-level program, and so the people in the program, they knew that I was blind, and so they would sometimes reach out and ask, like, do you need something electronically? Like, how can we accommodate you? And that was so helpful, just because I didn't want to just sit there and, like, fall asleep during this presentation that I couldn't see, and it's just really nice. Okay, number 12, and this isn't all the time, but on occasion, we really like to know that people are staring at us. Like, we know that it happens all the time, like, that's not new to us, but we don't know when it's happening unless it's just super obvious. I feel like 90% of the stares are kind of lost on me, but I just feel like it's my older brother again. He and I were in Disney World, and I was having to relieve my guide dog, and then he's like, he's a brother, so he was like kind of partially bothering me with it, but it was also like helpful to know. He's like, I just want you to know that everyone is staring at you right now, just like everyone.
Oh. Yeah, like, we don't know when people are watching us.
Sometimes I forget that other people can see me, and that sounds kind of silly, but, like, I feel sometimes like I'm in my own world, and that people are actually watching me I forget, truly.
It's like when you play hide and go seek with a 2-year-old, and they think they're hiding when you can see them, you know, because they don't know.
When they close their eyes and they think that they're hiding, that's exactly what it is, because
that's what it is.
I can't see that people are seeing me, but I know that they are. You know, it's hard.
Yes. Yeah, my mom will tell me when we're in the New York airport that nobody is staring at me, but when we're in the Tennessee airport, everyone is staring at me just because, like, in New York, nobody, notices you. But it is good for me to know, like, oh, everyone is staring at me right now. That's not good, but, like, thank you for letting me know. And that's when I have my cane with me, to clarify. People aren't just staring at me if I don't have my cane, obviously. But, yeah. So.
Okay. It's your turn.
Oh, yeah. The next one is allowing us to use sighted guide or just grabbing onto you if it's a very crowded area, if it's dark outside. And sighted guide, for those of you who don't know, is someone offering their forearm and you just putting your hand on it and them guiding you. And you don't even have to exactly do it that way. If it's a close friend, you can just lock arms or hold hands or do whatever you need to do. But it's really nice, especially, I do this a lot with my mom. I'll just, like, grab onto her arm if I, and so that's nice. And another thing that goes along with that is, like, if you're in a really crowded place, don't just leave us somewhere and walk away and forget about us, especially if it's some kind of emergency situation. If there's, like, a fire or something is happening and it's really crowded and you need to get out, please remember that we are back there and that we need to grab onto somebody. We can't just, like, run willy-nilly, like, we need help.
Right, especially if it's just, like, a big, like, commotion and we don't exactly know what's going on. Like, that's one time where it would be acceptable to, like, probably run and grab us. But the other thing is, like, let us come to you and don't just grab us because, first of all, COVID, ew. But second of all, no one wants to be manhandled like that, especially by a stranger. If someone just came up to me and grabbed me, I would be very uncomfortable and very upset because, like, no one does that.
Yes. Can I tell a quick story that I think you'll appreciate?
Absolutely.
And it reminds me of what you said about, like, if there's a big commotion and you don't know what's going on. So, at my job pre-COVID, I was acting at this theater and we toured this show around to different schools and we were doing a performance of the show, and unbeknownst to me, because I'm blind, a gigantic lizard thing ran out onto the stage with us and everyone was screaming, including all the kids in the audience watching us, and my castmates were screaming because it was big. I don't even know what you would call it, like a Komodo dragon. It was big. But the point is, they couldn't really tell me what was going on since we were supposed to be, like, acting, and anyway, but it was really unsettling for everyone around me to be screaming and to me not know what was going on. So just for future reference, like, and it's really funny now looking back. It was actually one of the funniest moments we ever had and we still joke about it. But just in general, if you are with a blind friend and there is a commotion suddenly happening like that out of nowhere, immediately let your blind friend know what you know. Even if you're, like, in the car riding together, I'll have the driver of the car sometimes like gasp or something, and it makes me feel like we're about to get in a wreck because I can't see what's happening. And it's so nice if they gasp to be like, oh, this just happened. But a lot of times they won't tell you because they're, like, freaking out in the moment, but it's nice to think you're a blind friend. Let them know what's going on.
Right. Oh my gosh, that makes me think of another story. I was in Europe with my parents and we were watching this show. We were watching this, like, yodeling show. It was a blast. We were in Austria. But
that's awesome.
We were pretty far from the stage, but, like, the show was ending and I thought that, like, everyone is excited because the show was ending, but it stopped at an awkward point and I was like, wait, what happened? And everyone started freaking out and I was like, what is happening? And someone passed out. Like, someone, I think, had a heart attack in, like, the front row.
Oh, no.
And it was so crazy. Like, they had to get, like, an ambulance. Like, it was a lot of things. But I was, like, for a few minutes, I was like, what is happening? Or for a few moments, sorry. But what is happening? What is going on? Someone tell me. My parents are with me, so they were like, someone just passed out. But, you know.
These are the things we miss. And it's actually really frustrating when you keep asking the sighted person, what's going on, what's happening, and they just ignore you. Have you had that? And it's like, I know that
because I know that they're
right
trying to make
too,
sense
like,
of it too.
I'm freaking out because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm lost. Like, should I be taking any precautions? I have no idea.
Yeah, should I be running away? Yeah, exactly. Please tell us when things like that happen.
Okay, number 14 is... really the bottom line sort of all of these things is, please, like, if you don't know what we need, ask for what we need, but also respect our independence and autonomy. Let us be the ones to tell you and take no for an answer and all those good things. But really, like, if you have a blind friend and you want to, like, really be a good friend to them, ask them, hey, I had one person ask me, and, like, she and I weren't ever close, but she asked me once, like, what are the things that people do for you that make you feel the most loved in terms of, like,
Aww.
your vision? And I thought it was a really thoughtful question, and some of the things I told her were things that we've already said, like offering to give you a ride, or, you know, those kinds of things that, like, you know, self-IDing yourself when you say, hey, it's so-and-so. Like, those things just make us feel seen.
Yes, 100%. I agree with all of that. I feel like I don't even have much to add to that because I just agree exactly with what you're saying. And I feel like number 15 is more broad spectrum chronic illness, where, you know, we both have a chronic illness. We've talked about it in other episodes. So if you ask us, first of all, we want to be invited, even if you think we're not going to come, whether it's due to the pandemic and we have to be more safe, or whether it's just us getting more tired easily, or whatever the reason, we still want to be included and, you know, remembered. But if you ask us to something and we say no, to also understand that we might not have the stamina that you have, and to be understanding of that, and not, once again, not act annoyed, like, oh, Casey said no again. Like, I have to say no a lot for whatever reason, and just being understanding of that, but still asking us to hang out.
Yeah, it really bums us out when, even, especially now, people will, like, be getting together without us, and while we wouldn't be able to come because we really, really aren't going basically anywhere, just the fact that you think of us, and you know, it also makes us feel like you miss that we wouldn't be there. Because when you don't include us like that, it just makes us feel like, oh, okay, so they didn't even miss me. That's fine.
Yeah, or even if you're not going to ask us, just to say, like, oh, I wish you could come tonight, or I'll miss you tonight. Like, that's nice. So, yeah, just understanding that we can't necessarily do everything.
Okay.
All right. So, we have a game. And this, actually, game was requested by Cassandra's dad. So, thank you.
Shout out to my dad.
Request.
So this game,
we each have 3. Oh, go ahead.
No, you were doing a good job. Go ahead.
Oh no, like, we talk over each other only simply because, like, she's in Ohio and I'm in Tennessee, so it pauses and then we both start talking at the same time, like when our FaceTime pauses. But yeah, we each have 3 icebreaker questions that we're just gonna ask, and I guess we can each answer all 3 of them.
Yeah.
But we don't know each other's questions.
Right. And, you know, most of our games are just, like, rapid fire stories, but these are just, like, fun, hypothetical little, like, icebreaker, food for thought type of thing. So we just thought it would be fun, since this whole episode was a list, which I feel like would have been a game in another episode. So here we are.
Here we are. I'm excited. Okay. My first one is not that deep, but it's, what's your current cell phone wallpaper? It might tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, I'll have to put it in, we'll have to put ours in the show notes, but my phone wallpaper is a photo of me with my dog.
Aww, beautiful.
She and I took this photo for in honor of our 4 years being together, but we are outside in front of this little fountain, and I'm blowing bubbles for her, and, like, she is, like, sniffing the bubble wand. It's really cute. And so I have red hair in the picture, which I don't have now, but, you know, it was really fun, and I love that picture. What about yours?
Mine is also my dog, and it's just his face just over and over and over and over again. I did this thing. It's this app where you can edit it to make it just like your dog's face. So, yeah, we can put it in the show notes, but I love that our backgrounds are both our dog. So that's very telling and also very on brand.
I could also see your, like your phone background on like a travel mug or like a whole lot of different cute stuff. Like I feel like so many people would buy that. Hint, hint, is there merch? I don't know. Let us know if you'd buy merch of Rare with Flair.
Yeah, let us know. Hint, wink.
I was actually thinking also on this note of dogs. You'll see in our show notes, but our shortened names are Case and Cass, and then her dog is Rupert and my dog is Romana, so we've got Rue and Ro.
Girl, I just told my mom this like yesterday. I'm screaming. I just said to my mom, "Oh my gosh, our dogs are Rue and Ro." I literally just said that.
I love
Case
that.
And Cass and Rue and Ro.
It's like we were all meant to be together.
Oh my god. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Okay, so my question is, if you could eat any food forever, what would you eat?
I think my go-to answer for like my favorite food is pasta. Not necessarily spaghetti. I'm kind of, I guess, more of a fettuccine white sauce kind of girl, but I love Italian. So yeah, pasta. I mean, chocolate is my favorite thing, but that's not really a food, so.
It's a food. I know. I always think of this from like a really pragmatic standpoint. I'm like, okay, so I have to pick one food, and it has to be somewhat nutritious, even though one food is not nutritious, whatever. And so like I always really rationalize it, so I'm always gonna say eggs because I love eating eggs.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like you can cook them in a lot of different ways.
You can.
Eggs.
They're like potatoes in that way. Yeah, eggs. I'm down.
I love eggs.
All right. My next one is, what is your favorite place? This can be a place to travel. This can be a place in your house, in your town. It could be anywhere. Just your favorite place to be, period. If you could be anywhere.
Oh, that is so hard. Oh my gosh. I guess, okay, maybe I have a few answers. My favorite place that I lived was, I spent a summer living in Seattle, and it was just, like, it was amazing. I loved the weather. I loved the people there. They call it the Seattle chill, but, like, I think that there's something nice in that people in the Midwest are very nosy, I think. I love the Midwest, though. But, I think that there was some beauty in that because, like, walking around with my guide dog, I wasn't gonna get, like, stopped all the time and asked a bunch of questions. Like, I think that was really nice. And I, like, the transportation was everything. Like, being able to get on a bus, amazing. It was super expensive, though, and I really enjoy living in Columbus. But I think that's my favorite place I've lived, and I think my favorite place in my house is my bed because it's warm and it's soft, and yeah, I like my bed.
Yes. I would say my favorite place in the whole world, which I know you love this place too, is Disney World. Like, if I could be there every day, I would be there every day. No place in the whole world makes me happier. Like, it's just, it's like the most joyous I've ever been in my life is when I'm there. And I know for some people it's like the opposite, like they would rather die than go to Disney. It's like torturous for them, but like if you're like me and you feel the feels and the magic, then you know what I'm talking about. So
yeah, I have another close friend who isn't as into Disney, but Casey and I both are, so I understand both sides. But like, man, I love going to Disney. Yeah. Okay. I guess this is also food related. I'm not hungry, but, you know, food. So if you could be, if you were an ice cream flavor, what flavor would you be?
I think I've, like, thought of this before and had a good answer, but now that I'm on the spot, I am having maybe something. I'm kind of, like, girly and feminine and stuff, so maybe something like peaches and cream.
I love it. Oh, that's so Southern, too.
I know, it's Southern, too. I don't really want to eat peaches and cream, but I feel like if, like, my personality had to be described, I'm kind of, like, classic and, like, sweet.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would work for me. What about you?
I've had to answer this question before, so I guess I already like had an answer. But I think that in terms of my personality, I'd say like cinnamon, because it's like
Ooh.
it's sweet, it's kind of different, but it's also like warm and spicy. You can pair it with a lot of different things. You can make it sweet with like chocolate. You can even pair it with things like ginger and turmeric. And I think that, yeah, cinnamon is really tasty. I know some people don't like it. Yeah,
spicy. But... Oh, I love cinnamon. Cinnamon's one of my favorite flavors.
I know someone who doesn't like cinnamon, and it makes me sad.
It's a crime. All right, my last one, which I really like this one. What is your best and worst personality characteristic?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. We'll do worst so we can end on a high note.
Okay.
I feel like people call this their, like, toxic trait. I feel like my toxic trait is... I also feel like it's very tied to my, like, Enneagram number, for those who don't know.
So is mine!
Yes! Okay. For those who don't know, I'm a type 8 in the Enneagram, which is the challenger, like, very, like, kind of dominant, decisive, strong personality. So I think mine is that, like... I don't want to say controlling, because that has an extremely negative connotation, but I think it's more that, like, if I get closer to people, I find ways that I think that I can help them, and, like, I kind of forcibly really want them to do it because I think it's a really good idea. But then, like, you know, people don't like that, and I understand why. But I think that that's, like, one of the worst things I do, or that, you know, in general, I'm just, like, if I'm in a mood, I'm kind of snippy. But, you know, I think that those are the worst things about my personality. But I think the best thing about my personality is that, I guess I did sort of two things. So, I guess, you know, even though I don't have a lot of stamina, I'm usually, like, a very open person. I love to try new things. I love to explore. So I'm, like, usually almost always, like, down for an adventure. And also, I will stand by you for, like, a long time. So, you know, I think that I will also, like, really, really work hard at our friendship. And so I think that those are some good things about me. What about you?
Yes. I think my worst and my best is the same thing, actually. Which I think I am very, very emotional and sensitive, and I think that is my best and my worst quality. And when I say sensitive, I don't mean like I get my feelings hurt easily. I just mean like I feel the feels very strongly in my life. So when I feel good feels, like, I am one of the most excitable, happy people. I get very excited very easily and very emotional about happy things very easily. But I also can get, like, really sad and really deep and in my thoughts, and I can get just overly emotional about things, you know, and just really, and I'm an empath, so I just really, really pick up on other people's emotions and feelings. And so I think, like, it's really, like, one of my worst traits and one of my best is just I'm constantly feeling emotions super strongly. So I think that's me. Yeah.
I feel like your question was so good, but my question is, like, probably more not as deep as that one was.
Okay.
If you I feel like I know the answer, but, like, if you could be anyone in a TV show, who would you be?
Oh, goodness. Oh, Cassandra, you're throwing me for a loop with these. You know what? Okay, so I'm just gonna go with what I'm currently watching right now. So I'm currently rewatching, I don't know if you've ever seen this show, but I'm currently rewatching Once Upon a Time.
Yes, I have! I saw up to, like, season 4 and then I got bored, but it was really good at the beginning.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I actually stopped and around season 5 too, so I want to like. That's why I'm rewatching it. But anyway, I really love Snow White, and I like feel that we're like kindred spirits, and I love her apartment and all her clothes, and like. So I think she'd be fun to be. I love Buffy, but I don't really feel like I like necessarily am a Buffy. Plus, her life like really sucks, so I like, don't really want to be. Like, I don't really want to be Buffy, so like I'll go with Snow. Because she's just fun and yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, it makes me think the lead in that show, or like the main character, Emma Swan, her collection of leather jackets is truly inspiring to me.
Your outfits are Emma and mine are Mary Margaret, which is the Snow White character. 1000%. Like
I love Emma.
I'll tell you a story later about how I found Mary Margaret's coat on Poshmark, and I now own it. So, like, that's exciting.
What? Like the real one? Or like a...
No. No, just the same.
Oh, okay.
The same one, but that's how much I love her clothes. I love her clothes.
It's so cute and vintage inspired. I know.
Yes.
I thought of this, but I didn't, think of the answer.
Okay.
But I think, I mean, you said Toph earlier. I feel like that is, the character I've seen on TV that is most like me.
Yeah.
I think that in the follow-up series, Legend of Korra, she's extremely grumpy, but
yeah,
I think I'd like to be, young Toph.
Yeah.
She and I have a lot in common. She makes lots of blind jokes. She has some sad backstory with her parents, and I love my parents a lot. But I would love to be able to bend the earth and throw rocks and stuff. Oh, that would be
how
fun.
Amazing. To be a pro earthbender. Yeah, you are Toph in so many ways, in all the best ways. So I love that answer. I think you're such a Toph. So yeah, I guess that's it.
That's our episode. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. As always, if you guys, the show notes are available at rarewithflair.com/podcasts, and we will answer your Insta DMs and emails at hello@rarewithflair.com, all the normal things we say. But yeah, go vote if you haven't today.
Yeah. Yes, we love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.